where it all started. Where it all started. Right here.
Born on June 13, 1976, Chad McGee was ready to take on the world. But little did Chad know what plans God had for him, but that nearly never happened. As Chad's life was almost lost from the very start.
Shortly after I was born, not too long after, everything was going good, going great, going perfect. And then suddenly, whoop, my blood sugar crashes hard, very hard. Not exactly sure why, what it caused it, how it occurred, how it happened. I don't know what any of the results of that was, because I was literally just a newborn. But thankfully the quick thinking doctors got everything back up and going. Got my blood sugar back up to normal levels, and everything seemed perfectly fine. That might have been the reason for my disabilities that I would face later on. I'm not exactly sure on that, but for whatever reason, everything's going good, and wham! It will forever stay a mystery. But it's like what Alabama sings: you can't keep a good man down. My saying, you can't keep a good, tough Texan down. Ain't gonna happen.
Growing up in rural Texas, Chad McGee was really shy and always kept to himself.
It's hard to understand. It's hard to envision that many years ago, living in rural Texas, I was shy. I was very shy. As a matter of fact, I was so shy, I didn't talk to anybody. I did not interact with anybody. I stayed to myself because I felt safer staying away from everybody, not being the center of attention. And years later, when I moved to Haskell, Texas, and I started going to the life class there at Haskell High School, I was still very shy, and I was still very quiet, staying to myself, not being the center of attention. In fact, that was the last thing I wanted, would be the center of attention.
You never opened your mouth.
I know. You know what's so amazing is I was so shy back then.
Very quiet, very shy, reserved.
Yeah.
Observant.
Right. To know me back then and to know me now, you're like, okay, where did the Chad McGee that I knew from way back when? Because you're not that same guy now. Who would have ever thought that years later, here we are.
Not too long after Chad moved to Haskell, Texas, He knew he didn't fit in with the rest of the students, not because of his shyness, but because of his learning disability at the time. In fact, having a learning disability in a big school like Haskell High wasn't easy. It was challenging and very frustrating for Chad McGee during that time. But Chad has two teachers that he will never forget and will always be thankful for.
Miss Jenkins and Miss Hudgens, God bless their very souls, of being professional teachers and being the teachers of the life class at Haskell High School at the time. They did their absolute best, and they did it well, very well. The thing is, being professional teachers at that time as they were not educated or even taught on how to deal with someone with dyslexia as I had. They did everything they could of what they understood, and they did it very well. They will go down forever as being the greatest teachers I have ever had, and the people that I will always look up to as my idols. Because they didn't have to do anything with me. They could have looked at me and said, "No, we don't want that. Get that out of here. We don't want to deal with that." No, they accepted me with open arms. They took on the challenge, and they did it well. So it was years later that I had to learn how to write, how to read. Well, actually, my reading was okay, but learning how to write a check, dealing business with the bank, all that, buying my own groceries, I learned that all by myself. And I passed with flying colors, and I'm very proud of myself for that.
After years of living in Haskell, Texas, and living at his grandmother's old house at 704 South 11th Street was no longer possible, Chad and his mother, Sylvia McGee, made the difficult decision to leave behind the memories and familiar streets of Haskell and moved to Knox City, Texas, in search of a fresh start and to write a new chapter in their lives.
For a long period of time, my mother did not work. And during that time is when she decided to move back into my grandmother's old house at 704 South 11th and try to do what she could to restore it, to bring it back to what it once was. But of course, not working, there was no money from her end of things coming in. So a lot of my money from Social Security was being used in order to do that. However, it was a task and a challenge neither one of us should have never even took on, as a matter of fact. But she just felt very strong within herself that this is what needs to be done. And one evening, she was watching Joyce Meyer. And in that program, my mother got inspired, totally inspired, to get off her butt and get a job. And there, she found one at Brazos Valley Care Home in Knox City, Texas. And since we both knew living at 704 was not humanly possible anymore, we moved to Knox City. And let me tell you, after years of living in Haskell, and you move to an unfamiliar place like we did in Knox City, I didn't know how to react at first. I was freaked out because I went into the bank to get some money for my mom and to tell her literally looks me in the eye and says, honey, and she puts her hand on mine and says, honey, can I pray for you? I'm looking at her like, you're an alien with 19 eyeballs staring right back at me and you want my soul. What are you saying? Whoa! I was freaked out. When I got in that car, I said, Mom, we went into the crazy place. What do you mean? That lady wanted to pray for me in there. She wanted to know if I was okay. Who does that? But living in Knox City has been the greatest decision of moving here we ever did.
A few years after Chad and his mother moved to Knox City, tragedy struck.
I remember her getting dressed. I was sobbing in the living room. I'm physically shaken. I am mad. I am angry at God, at Jesus. I'm literally cursing their name.
That's why it was so hard when she had her stroke and got sick, because all of that was her went away.
How dare they do this? How could they let this happen? How could they just let this happen without stopping it? Because I didn't have a relationship with God or Jesus at that time. As a matter of fact, I just wasn't going to church, period.
And I just remember coming around the corner and there's this big old, I don't know how I would describe him at that time. His hair was long, he had on this nasty cap that said, "I'm the boss." And I just kind of laughed, and he looked like he was angry. I mean, that sucker looked like he looked like Shrek with clothes on. Big old long hair, sweat pouring off of him, and it looked like he was carrying about 10 grocery sacks. His fingers were white and his knuckles were white. There's so much weight. It looked like the bags were about to come undone. And I remember rolling down the window and I'm like, "Hey, you want to ride?" And he looked over at me. And you could tell it startled him. Nobody's ever talking to him. He's like, "No." He's got that look on his face. "You sure?" "Yeah." "Come on in. It won't take but a minute. I'll give you a ride wherever you want to go." "No." I'm like, okay, I guess this guy don't want to ride.
For 6.5 years, the devil had me around his finger, and he had a grip on me, and he did not let me go. For 6.5 years, that was pure dark, hell, and the toughest, roughest time I could literally remember, honestly. People that was around Knox City at that time, well, you can ask them, man. You can ask them. You can ask them, like, how was Chad like at that time, and they'll tell you. They didn't approach me because I had that look like, yeah, you even talk to me, I will kill you.
And although Chad, being his mother's caregiver, was very hard and demanding, many people realize how lucky Sylvia McGee was to have Chad in her life during the most difficult time of her life.
That's the thing, Chad. You did an awesome job taking care of your mother, and I mean, she was very lucky to have you take care of her and everything. So, you know, that's just part of your story.
It's a pretty heavy responsibility. And what I really appreciated out of Chad was he honored his mother with his watching over her. And he was an incredible guy as far as doing that. And it finally got to be so strenuous on him.
When people would see Chad around town, Knox City, Texas, they could see the strain being his mother's caregiver had on him.
Honestly, my first thoughts was he was just a poor lost soul that was angry and needed somebody to come up and talk to him. I know the next few encounters that I had with him after that first day is pretty much the same scenario. I'd see him walking on the street, and it's hot outside. He looks like sweat dripping off. He's got sweat stains on his shirt. And I'd pull up and try to talk to him a little bit. And I thought, you know, this guy he must be under a lot of stress. He looks like he's just about to blow a gasket. Doesn't look like he's got any friends, anybody, and I wasn't even worried about trying to get him to come to church. I just wanted to try to break the ice with him and get him to talking. But he was the king of one-word responses. It was like talking to a brick wall. I'm thinking, yeah, there's got to be more to this guy than what's going on. I wonder what in the world's going on in his life. He's this wound up. He was wound up tight.
I was in such a dark place. I can't tell you what that was even like, what that even was. I can tell you I did not want to talk to anybody. I trusted no one. And if anyone knew me back then and saw me downtown, anywhere downtown, if you paid attention, you noticed I was constantly looking down. Constantly. I did that for 3 reasons. 1, to avoid any and all type of eye contact. The reason for that is for number 2, I did not want to talk to anybody, to no one. It didn't matter if I was outside or inside a place, the grocery store, wherever. Don't look at me, don't talk to me. And number 3, to avoid stepping in a pothole, because Knox City was known for potholes and having the most uneven surface sidewalks of any town I've ever been in at that time. I couldn't tell you how things are now. I haven't walked downtown in quite a while, but that's how it was. And looking back on it now, I'm just like, how did I survive? How did I even live? Because if I saw you, leave me the hell alone.
Chad's body had reached its limit of 6.5 years of being his mother's caregiver. He physically and literally, mentally, could no longer take it anymore. Flabbergasted, disgusted, ashamed. It was the lowest point in Chad's life.
It was right after my mother left. It was actually being loaded up in the ambulance to be transported to Acadia, Abilene. It was, at that moment, the lowest point of my entire life. I'd always promised her, me and my brother had always promised her, no matter what, I will stick with this. I'm never going to give up. You're never going to be going into a rest home. I will forever take care of you. It's like you took care of me and him, my brother, I will take care of you. And I made that promise, and I vowed to be the truth. It just got to a point where I physically just could not do it anymore. And when that happened, I felt like a failure. I was down on myself. I hated myself. I didn't even know who the hell I even was. And I stayed with her for as long as I could. When she was loaded up into that ambulance, and I stayed out there in my front yard as they drove away, turning towards Abilene to take her to where she was going, to Acadia, Abilene. And I could barely move. I walked, but I felt like I was crawling. I literally thought I was going to die. What I should have done was call the hospital and say, she's gone. She's loaded up. She's out of here. Now come pick me up because I need it. But I didn't do that. I crawled, if you will, into my living room around the coffee table, and I sat down on the couch and I slept for 8 to 9 hours. Hard. Because there for the last few months, I did not get any sleep at all. None. At all.
At this point, when Chad was at his lowest, something unexpected happened. That brought a little bit of happiness in his world.
One of the things that I did, since I had a lot of time after my mom left, was create my own wrestling action figure show called XAW, which stood for Extreme Action Wrestling. And what inspired me was, back in late 2010, early 2011, this stop-motion animation action figure wrestling feds or federations or organizations started popping up everywhere on YouTube. They were everywhere. And one guy stood out amongst all of them that really lit a fire under my butt to start my own action figure stop-motion animation show. And that was Matt Goldberg. He had his own animation show called CCW, which stood for Crash Collision Wrestling.
So Chad and I met on YouTube almost 20 years ago now, which is really crazy to think about. And, I was first starting on there, and I had a popular stop-motion animated show called CCW, Crash Collision Wrestling. And then I believe at some point Chad had probably reached out as he really enjoyed the content I was putting out and wanted to learn and show me his work, and we could learn from each other and teach each other stuff.
So after I saw Crash Collision Wrestling, that really inspired me. Like, hey, I can do that. That's super cool. I'm going to do that. So I bought action figurines, I bought action figures, and I created my own show. And I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, man! He just crushed him! What the hell just happened? Oh! God, just makes you sick, makes your blood curl. Folks, and I don't like it a damn bit. Oh my God. Oh my God. God is my witness. He is broken in half.
You know, and I really enjoyed it, even though physically it was hard on me because because I was literally physically recovering from all that stuff, physical, emotional, psychological baggage that I dealt with for so long, and I'm gonna be my mom's caregiver. But, hey,
You know, one of my fondest memories with Chad is actually the life-size CCW belt you made me. And I still have it. It lives at my parents' house right now, but I still have it, as I cherish that, as I thought it's one of the coolest things ever that someone has ever made for me. And it was really flattering that you put all that time and effort into something just to give to me for my collection. So
XAW brought a lot of joy and happiness in Chad's life. However, Chad was still depressed and down on his luck. But that was about to change.
fast forward a few months, it kept nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging me. I didn't know what it was. I know now, looking back, it was the Holy Spirit talking to me. It was God talking to me. But I didn't know that at the time. So I'm like, hey, what is this? But it kept nagging and nagging and nagging. And so since I was online, what I was being encouraged to do, and what was it nagging at me, was to look up the United Methodist Church here in Knox City's phone number. So, okay, fine, all right. I Googled it, wrote down the number, and I laid it on the side. Stared at it a few times, but it just kept nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging to call the number. And it was like God was literally telling me, stop procrastinating, stop hesitating, and dial the damn number. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll do it. I reach, grab that phone, dial that number. 3 to 4 weeks later, the pastor of the United Methodist Church at that time, Tim Trimble, answered the phone. And I remember that phone call very well. I said, Tim, this is Chad McGee. He's like, I know exactly who you are. I need to talk to you. I'm in my office, come down. So I did that. I went and I got on my bike, went to the church, and I sat in that man's office for hours, pouring out my guts, pouring out my soul. And believe it or not, right after I was done, I felt better. But he wanted me to mow the lawn. He wanted me to mow the lawn. And at the time, there's a lot of, right now, there's a lot of rent buildings there now, but at the time, it was nothing but land. Nothing but a big, huge, empty lot. Right across the street from the church, literally right across the street. And so I got their lawnmower and I got half of it done until Trim had to take over and finish the job. But it was at that moment when I'm sitting on the sidewalk, huffing and puffing. Tim looks at me and he says, hey, we're going to have youth tomorrow. I want you to be here. Okay. So I went to their youth event that Wednesday night. Actually, it might have been that night. But anyway. The 2011 Knox City Greyhound roster was practically the entire youth at that moment or at that time. And they served hamburgers. And as we're sitting there eating hamburgers, I'm off to the side because I didn't know anybody and I was still shy. But I could hear them talking about the upcoming season and how Throckmorton, their biggest rival at that time, hound versus hound, dog versus dog, Knox City Greyhounds versus the Throckmorton Greyhounds, a clash of titans, if you will, and how they're going to be absolutely decimated by this team and a lot of teams. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I got a lot of fire. I have got a lot of fire under their ass. And I got to make them realize and I got to make them understand. Nothing is impossible. If you can do it, if you believe it, you can do it. Be damned.
But Chad wasn't the only one thinking the Greyhounds needed a pump-up hype video.
And I talked to him at the church, and I said, Chad, you need to do a shout out. And that's how that all became.
So, I go home, and I made the very first Knox City Greyhound shout out video. This is a special shout out. It's a shout out to the Knox City Greyhounds. The most dominant, badass, kick-ass team in Texas today, in high school football today. No one's greater, no one's better, no more and absolutely more badass than the Knox City Greyhounds team. That's right. Guys like Austin Valmont, Blake Jones, Brandon York, Ryan Lidsma, Kyle Harrington, PJ Moore, Jarek Wild, Tylen Eden, Heath Welch, Ty Bregersmith. That's right. Absolutely 100% better, badder, stronger, more dominant than any other team in high school football today. Last season, you were 8-4. 8-4. This season, compared to last, it ain't going to be 8-4. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. It's going to be all the way. Absolutely as far as you guys can go. You, this season, the Knox City Greyhounds, with the help of Coach Steele, Coach House, Coach Webb, Coach Lawson, it's going to guide you, coach you to greatness, to absolute greatness. Show not only the entire state of Texas, but you are going to show the world how dominant and how badass, kick-ass sons of bitches that has ever stepped foot on a football field, a Texas high school football field. You own it. You control your own destiny. And destiny is knocking. Destiny is calling. There's absolutely 100% beyond God doubt. No stopping you. It got a lot of rave reviews. It got a lot of hits. And it got a lot of praise. I couldn't go anywhere, to the post office, grocery store, anywhere, without people stopping me going, hey, that was really good. I enjoyed that. The pastors of this community did not like it.
You can't do a shout out to a bunch of high school kids that a bunch of little children are going to be and having the F word and all kinds of stuff like that in it. It's just a little bit too much. I'm trying to think, maybe he didn't have the F word. Maybe it was just some other calmer cussing, but it was too much. And so I think both Tim Trimble and myself both cautioned him about that. And of course, at first he's like, I'm just trying to be authentic. This is the way I do things. And my first concern was get the cussing out of there. So I think somehow we convinced him, I don't know if he redid it or just edited it, but he took the cussing out of there, and that helped it out a lot. Second thing I was having an issue with was, will people take him seriously, or is he going to be ridiculed and made fun of? Is this going to hurt his feelings? Because it was an awesome video. And I didn't want to take away from the authenticity of it, but I could see that there's probably going to be a lot of cruel comments, a lot of hateful remarks and everything else. So we asked him if he, thought this was going to happen. He said, oh yeah, that ain't going to bother me. And I'll just let it go in one ear and out the other. It ain't going to bother me none at all.
And I was still, recovering from being my mom's caregiver. So saying the biggest, baddest, roughest, toughest sons of bitches that ever walked the earth, I didn't find anything wrong with that. It's football hype talk. What could possibly be wrong with that? What could possibly be wrong? Well, a lot could possibly be wrong with that, apparently. And so I dub off a video for Gilbert Lloyd.
I had a project for Chad to do for me personally, and when he was there, he was so proud of the fact that he did a shout out, and he was showing it to me, and he was so proud of it, and I listened to it, and when you're proud of something, you don't like to be critiqued so, but I just felt like I needed to say, Chad, I really think you need to clean up your words on that thing, because it's going to be to a bunch of high school kids and whoever.
He scalded me. He got on my butt so hard I didn't know which way to look, run, or turn.
And I said, so if you would clean that up, I think that would be a good idea. Well, nobody likes to be critiqued in such a manner. And I could tell his blood pressure was going up and his face was getting red, and
it pissed me off. I was already full of anger, like I could bend iron steel with my bare hands. I was that mad already, and he's adding to the fuel. He's putting fuel on the fire. He doesn't know that, but that's what's happening.
And he told me later that on his way home, his blood was boiling because he was just so proud of what he had done.
And I get on my bike, and I practically ride as hard as I can. I'm flying down that road. Everything is a blur. I get home, I set up my Kodak EasyShare camera, the very first digital camera I ever owned. And I redid the entire shout out. I redid it all.
This is a shout out, to the Knox City Greyhounds, the most dominant physical force in our district today, in high school football today, in Texas football today. No one's bigger, no one's greater, no one is better than Guy Black, Austin Velmont, Blake Jones, Brandon York, Ryan Lidsma, Kyle Harrington, DJ Moore, Jarek Wild, Tylen Eden, Heath Welch, Ty Bregersmith. That's right. That is absolutely right. The Knox City Greyhounds is going to get on that field. Get on that turf. It doesn't matter what turf we're on. It doesn't matter what turf we go to. You are on that field. It doesn't matter if it's our turf or somebody else's turf. It becomes your turf. It becomes your domain. It becomes your destiny for greatness. It becomes your destiny to go all the way to the state championship. This year, it ain't going to be 8-4. This year, we go all the way with the help of Coach Steele, Coach House, Coach Webb, Coach Lawson. This year is going to be better. This year is going to be greater. This year is our year. Our time. Our time to shine. Our time to dominate.
After I was done filming an hour and a half full of worth of video, I edited it down to 7 minutes, 20 seconds, deleted the first one, put up the second one, and a week later, my life forever changed.
On Thursday, August 18th, 2011, when Chad McGee got out of bed early to go see his mother at Merkel Nursing Center, little did Chad know how historic that day would truly be.
One of the reasons the video got so many views and how it literally went viral was that there was this guy that went by the name of Lou Padden. To my understanding, Lou Padden used to play for the Knox City Greyhounds, I believe, back in the 80s. I believe he was a quarterback, but I'm not sure. But of August of 2011, I believe he lived in the Dallas area, but I'm not sure. But the point is, he found my Knox City Greyhound video somehow. He came across it somehow, and he put the link to my video on his blog. And that very same day, a guy in Pennsylvania that ran a blog called Deadspin, he saw Lou's blog about my video, and he put the link to one of his blogs that very day. And not too long after that, a representative from Jimmy Kimmel Live, saw that blog and put the link to Jimmy Kimmel's official Twitter handle on Twitter, now known as X. And the video went boom. It exploded.
I don't know when I heard about it going viral, but I remember exactly how I saw it the first time.
Oh.
So it was Michelle, my neighbor, Michelle Stanfield, and I'd gone over there to eat lunch, and her son Payne, had his iPad. And he called us in there, and he was like, y'all gotta come get a load of this. Come see this.
It would probably be Zach or Jeff or someone, because I was not, and I'm still not real video or, all that technology savvy and all that. No offense, but I don't keep up with anything. So they were like, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch this. So I did, and I was like, yes. So I shared it all over Facebook, and Knox City hero.
As some of the boys came in and began to share with me, asking me, said, hey, Mr. Moeller, you watched the video that Chad's posted? Had no clue what they were talking about. I knew that Chad was one of these kind of guys that, man, when he'd come to pep rallies, he'd see kids in town. This guy was so full of motivation that it was just unreal. And so that's really how I heard about the video. Was these boys came in and said, man, you've got to watch this. And so I did. I went in and I watched the video, and it was like, wow, this is so crazy, because this is uplifting our boys, and it got them fired up. It became the talk of the school. It became the talk of the town. And so I guess I heard about it just through the boys whenever they got word that this video had gone viral. And of course they were excited, because even though it was kind of promoting the Knox City team, but these kids were excited about it. And
it literally exploded, because when I got up that morning to go to Merkel Nursing Center to see my mom, at that point, before I left at 6 a.m. that morning, the view count was 1,400 views, and that was just locally. By the time I got back at 6 p.m., because I looked directly at that clock when I walked in to my mom's old bedroom, which is now was converted into my office after she left, 35,000 hits at that point. I knew something was going on, because when I went online, the first things that I used to do is go to my Yahoo Mail. And I had so many comments from YouTube, it took me an hour to get to the Abilene Reporter News email, because a guy that, or one of the reporters that worked for the newspaper at that time, sent me an email explaining everything, how it, literally giving me the timeline on how it went viral, who saw it first, who saw it second, who saw it third, and boom, 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 boom. And my jaw hit the floor.
But at that time, you know, we really didn't understand what viral meant too much. We just knew that the video had started getting a lot of hits, but we didn't really understand the scope that it would eventually get to.
And so we sat, and I had a 2-year-old at the time. She's 15 now, but she was with me, and we went in there to watch it, and we had to watch it 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5. We loved it. We loved every minute of it.
I was numb. I was in shock. I was numb. I literally could not feel anything after I read that. And when I looked and I checked and I saw how many views it had at that time, over 35,000 hits, I freaked out. I freaked out. I immediately called my mother and I said, Mom, baby, what's wrong? I just put Knox City and the Knox City Greyhounds on the damn map. And I was talking in such a loud voice. She thought I was mad at her. She's like, why are you yelling at me? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. But once she realized what was happening, she cried. She literally cried. Because all she knew throughout my life, I had so many difficulties, so many issues, so many troubles, or learning disabilities, that is. Being dyslexic, not being able to read or write, or having really low self-esteem, had just done something no one in this area, to our knowledge, has ever done. Ever. And I didn't know how to handle it at the time. No idea.
What's even crazier, everybody online started making their own versions of shoutout videos. Diva Lover 159 style.
This is a shout out! a shout out to you, Diva Lover 159. This is a shout out. To you, Diva Lover 159. Now I can't live up to your fame, your status. I can't dominate, assassinate, annihilate like you can. Hey, shout out to BBD. That's Big Boy Daddy. But I can get on here and tell all my lovely subscribers to get over here and go check out Diva Lover 159. He does wrestling promos. Woo! Diva Lover 159, folks.
This is a shout out to the greatest team in football. That is the Carolina Panthers. We will dominate the field. We are the greatest team in the nation, in the professional world of football. It's because we have the most physical, the most feared players in the NFL today. We got players like
Steve Smith, Jimmy Carson, Jason Baker, D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, John Beeson, Jordan Gross, Cam Newton.
When we step onto the field of play, we do not run away. We will make that field our own. Any field that we are on, we will make it into our field. Even if it is our field, we will turn it into our field.
It opened up a lot of doors. A lot of doors.
Chad's shoutout video was gaining a lot of traction, and people started to notice. And before Chad knew it, he was reached out by a TV show.
One of the first TV shows that I appeared on after my Knox City Greyhound video went viral was that show on that G4 channel called Attack of the Show. That was very unexpected, and boy, was it a trip. Oh, yeah.
This is a shout out to Attack of the Show. There's not a more dedicated, hardworking group of people making television in the USA today, baby. Kevin Pereira, Candace Bailey, Sarah Underwood, all the early birds in the ATN room, Joshua Rento, Vinnie Relaford, Brian Swilliger, Jeremy Hachet, Nick Visker, Casey Schreiner, Blair Butler, Jeremy Dugan, Liz Miller, and everybody else that kicks butt putting that beast of a show together day in, day out. This is Diva Lover 159, Knox City Greyhound superfan, and this is Attack of the Show!
So here's Sarah Underwood!
And, if that wasn't cool enough, a lifelong dream for Chad came true.
I've always been a professional wrestling fan. Always. Been for years. Many years. been a big fan of world-class championship wrestling. And I told myself, sitting in my grandmother's house at 704 South 11th Street, watching the Von Erichs kick the Fabulous Freebirds all over the world-famous auditorium at Industrial Boulevard in Dallas, Texas, one day I would be in that ring. 25 years later, that video going viral changed it all.
Then I got Chad and Coach Steele in a wrestling match. It's a fundraiser. Thought it would be a really cool way to get some attention, and it did. It became more focused out on Chad than it did our kids for a little bit, even because it blew up so fast. And then we did this wrestling match. We did a fundraiser, and Coach Steele came in and wrestled. And Coach Steele's a big man then, big man, and he wrestled with Chad.
At the Booster Club. I heard about the wrestling match at the Booster Club meeting. We held weekly meetings during football season, and I don't remember exactly how it started. I just remember Coach Steele said, this is going to happen, and we need to, try to benefit from this, like from the school, from every direction. So we had created an event with flyers and concession stand, and we just made it a night out in the town.
I mean, we were talking about it, and and that was a big deal. I mean, it was fun. We enjoyed it, had a good time with it. And I think a lot of people got excited about it just because of, it was kind of unique way to raise money and an entertainment type deal at a small school like that. You don't see that very often. So, and like I said, I had done it before and knew it was a good fundraiser. And so yeah, that's when I called Johnny and we started talking about it, getting everything set up. And then you being such a huge wrestling fan, it just added a whole nother dimension to it.
And Coach Steele was friends with Cowboy Martell, I think was his name. And was that his name, Cowboy Martell?
Cowboy Johnny Mantell.
Johnny Mantell, Cowboy Johnny Mantell and Coach Steele were friends, brought a deal in. We did it as a fundraiser. I believe Michelle was president of the Booster Club then. And I was mayor still then, I believe. And we did it at the school.
Holy Toledo, Batman. What the heck are you talking about? And of course, I was thinking it's going to be some little chinky, rinky-dink deal. They were going to set up some posts and some nylon ropes and make a ring, and it's going to be this big amateur hour. I had no idea it was going to become the professional ring and professional wrestlers and the professional setup, and how big it became. I mean, my mind did not comprehend where we were going with this. Of course, I was like, dude, you're going to get hurt. You're going to hurt Coach Steele. How's this going to work? And the more he explained it to me and told me how things were going to operate, and I was like, okay, this might actually work. And it turned out to be a pretty big deal.
I actually got to watch that wrestling match, and I was the commentator, if you will. I actually did the play-by-play, was on the announcer. I had the mic, and I ran the bell at those matches.
And you could pinch me, and I wouldn't have felt anything. A lifelong dream came true.
Chad couldn't possibly imagine anything bigger than that happening in his life. But Chad was about to find out not so fast.
Another door opened. I was contacted through my Facebook fan page from Tosh. And I didn't know who Tosh was. I've never even seen the Tosh .0. I've never even seen that.
And it's not uncommon. There's a lot of people who we'd send requests to who would think it was a joke. And we had some people who would write mean things back to us because they thought we were just someone messing with them. But we genuinely, wanted to have them on the show. And Chad was such a good sport. He was a pleasure to have on.
So when I tell my brother who this is, he's like, oh my God, do you even know what show that is? I said, no. Well, it's on Comedy Central, and this guy, comedian, Daniel Tosh, he's out there. He will rip you a new one.
What Chad didn't realize was the reason he got on Tosh because of Evan Mathis, a former NFL offensive lineman who played guard for 12 seasons, who played for the Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals, Philadelphia Eagles, Denver Broncos, and Arizona Cardinals, plus is a Super Bowl winner. Won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos.
So Jim Patton was one of my brother's best friends in high school. They're still great friends, but so I knew Jim. I knew Jim like a brother. I knew Jim very, very well, and obviously I knew that he was, one of the main guys at Tosh.0. And we had a lot. Every now and then we'd have conversations where I'd just send him a video or a link and say, "Hey, this is someone that'd be great for the show." And a lot of times it was, "Yeah, I've seen this guy." Or yeah, we're inviting this person. But every now and then it was like, "Oh, thank you, I haven't seen this one yet." And that was the case with Chad. Was he hadn't seen Chad yet, but he loved it the same reason, because Jim's one of the funniest people I know. Obviously, if he's going to be a writer for Tosh.0, he's got to have some wit to him. But Jim is hilarious, and growing up with my brother and his circle of friends, they were hilariously funny. The way that they interacted, the way that they would go into different characters, and the way that they would act things out. And they're honestly it was almost like they were made to have like their own sketch show or something. That whole group, his friend group, was just incredibly funny. So it was always easy to talk to them, talk to Jim. And when you see, I knew that sending Chad's video to Jim would resonate if Jim hadn't already seen it.
Well, when I was working on Tosh.0, we were always looking for fun people to bring on the show, people that made us laugh, people that we were fans of. And sometimes we would find people that we loved, but we pitch them to Daniel. That was always the process. We take the videos to Daniel and show him. And Chad's was a video that I took to Daniel and said, "Listen, this guy is perfect." He thought about it, and at first it was a no. So we think we had the schedule was full that time, and I had friends who kept sending me Chad's videos. In particular, the one guy I remember who was always on me about it was an NFL player, a friend of mine that I'd grown up with, a guy named Evan Mathis, who played for a lot of teams in the NFL for over like 13 seasons, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos, just fantastic football player. And he was a huge fan of all of Chad's videos.
When I started seeing Chad's videos, I was reminded of that childhood passion that I had for the wrestling promos, and the reason that I loved them so much, because it was there was so much energy that went into it, and when things are communicated in that energy, you just hear it better. You really do, and it's there's a bit of theatrics and entertainment that goes into it. And there's like a special mix of wit, charm, and just high energy, and it makes you listen. Like if we had presidential debates, I guarantee you they'd be much more effective if everyone was doing it like a wrestling promo instead of blah 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 blah.
After doing his research on the Tosh.0 show, Chad was very nervous about calling the number, but he finally did.
We talked for an hour. And I was a youth pastor at the time. And so we were about to go to camp, and I took that very, very seriously. So I told him at the time, I had to decline. I can't do it. So 6 months later, they called me back, and I said, I'm available. I can do it now. And so I went on my first show to LA. They flew me out to LA. They picked me up in a limo, drove me to DFW, flew me out to LAX, and had me on the show. And I'm telling you, am I freaking dreaming here?
Knox City Greyhounds, it's time to get serious. There is nobody better, and there is no other high school system that is hungrier than these guys. Thailand, eat well. Jesus Rodriguez. Put on the helmet. It's time to get physical. It's time to dominate. We are by far the absolute number one best in the world.
If he looks familiar, it's because he used to star on that show Rugrats. That's Chad, and he makes motivational videos to fire up his beloved high school football team, the Knox City Greyhounds, which appears to be in a high radiation area of Texas. High school football is a religion in Texas because anything is better than watching Tony Romo shit the bed season after season. If a high school football game is the most interesting thing to do on a Friday night, you should burn your town to the ground. It's the worst version of football. The quarterbacks can't throw 10 yards, the running backs are white, and the only action worth watching is happening underneath the bleachers. No country cares more about high school athletics than America. That's because caring about our test scores would be a real downer. I didn't play high school football because I didn't have stupid parents. President Obama said he wouldn't let his child play football. But if that kid had Michelle's shoulders, he'd be an absolute beast. The truth is, I respect Chad's deep, almost unnatural love of the game. That's why I flew that human can opener to LA for this week's Celebrity Profile. Are you ready for some high school football? Welcome to High School Game Day, brought to you by Clearasil and Planned Parenthood. With me as always, Chad. Chad, got a great week of football ahead of us.
I'm looking forward to it. Never.
Did you play any football?
I nearly did.
You nearly
I
did.
nearly did. And that wasn't my fault either. Back when I was going to Haskell.
Back when you were going to where? High school?
Haskell.
Haskell, okay.
Yes, Haskell.
Gotcha.
Yes. I suited up, and I guess because of my shyness.
You're shy?
I was shy back then, yes. But I suited up, and the coach took one look at me and said, no, you're not going to do it.
Did you graduate high school?
No.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You can go back to high school, you can play 1 year.
Exactly.
That's what Knox City needs. Do you like watching children play any other sports?
No.
Any of the kids get scared of you?
Some.
Do you follow grown-up football?
NFL, yes.
Who's your team?
Dallas.
You think the Dolphins will ever go back to the Super Bowl?
If they try hard enough. It's how badly do they want it? How hungry are they?
When's the last time you were hungry?
5 minutes ago.
Chad's shout-out videos was more popular than ever. People were hiring Chad to do shout-out videos constantly, but it came at a price. That goes beyond money.
I was stressing my voice so much by doing so many shout-out videos that I was seriously concerned that I was damaging my voice box because I could barely talk. There was a time that I couldn't talk for over a week. And my voice box would throb. It would hurt so much.
Quite a few times you would call me and we would talk and you'd say, my voice is really, really sore today, or it's really hoarse today because I've been doing a lot of shout out videos. So at that point, I started telling you to slow down, maybe tone it back a little bit, or at the very least, start spacing them out, every other day so that you don't damage your vocal cord,
Let me just put it to you this way. I did a couple of my own shout outs, and one of them was back to Chad, to give Chad a shout out. And yes, I was a little worried about his voice. It took a lot out of my voice just to do one of them, much less two of them. And then to be doing them the way he was doing for hours on end until he could get it perfect. I mean, I'm surprised the boy can talk these days. He can talk, though. He can talk and talk and talk. He can talk a lot, but it didn't mess with his voice. So, cool.
If people want to get views, and they need to go with what the audience wants. And if Chad's getting too many comments about this
too much for me and they don't watch it, then tone it down. I say Chad needs to go with what keeps it going.
What keeps it going?
Follow it. If you need to grow and change, but
well,
everyone loves passionate Chad shout-outs. So I don't think Chad can just stop that cold turkey.
All right.
But how can you tone down what is a part of you? Something from within. That is the all-gas and no-brakes scenario when it comes to the style of shout-outs Chad McGee does. But what does that mean?
And what a lot of people don't realize, and what a lot of people don't understand, is that what they're seeing, the passion, the energy, the intensity, they're seeing anger come out of me. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't understand that what they're seeing is anger coming out of me. But I'm using it in a positive way, in a motivating way, in an encouraging way. There was a time I did several videos, many videos within a day. And by the time I was done, I wasn't able to talk the very next day. But man, did I feel so much better. So not only am I using this in a positive way, also doing these shout outs has been the best therapy I have ever had.
And through it all, no matter what, God was always with Chad when he was his mother's caregiver, when he was feeling alone, depressed, when his life drastically changed, when he became the Knox City Greyhound superfan. Looking back at it all, Chad realizes how lucky of a man he is and how truly blessed he is, because without God, none of this that has happened in his life would have been possible.
Looking back, throughout all of it, I'm not perfect. I've never been perfect. I never will be. I've always spoke from the heart. Always. And a lot that I have to say isn't always pleasant. I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything. I cuss. I still cuss to this day. Because deep down inside of me, I'm still comfortable with it. And God's working with me through that. And God can only do so much. God can change me like that within an instant. But Chad, why doesn't he? It's because he can only do so much that I allow him to do. Here's what scares me. And why I haven't officially said, God, just take this from me. Now, take this anger, just take it. It's because I'm afraid if I lose that anger, if I lose that, then the passion, the energy, the fire, everything that everybody has ever known about my shout-outs, I'm afraid will just go away. And if that goes away, was anything that I say after that motivating, encouraging, empowering, will the message still be brought forward as it's been before in the fiery shout-outs, or will it forever be lost? You see, I have used that anger to fuel the motivation and the encouragement for years, and it's all I know. If I lose it, will I still matter? That I've been able to be for so long over the years. I don't know. You're probably screaming at the TV right now saying, yes! But pray for me. 100%. Because I'm tired of living with that baggage. I really am. And it is exhausting. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event. It's going to be one fall with a 30-minute time limit. This is the showdown in Knox City. It's a charity tag match of the night. It's the one you've all been waiting for. In the ring now is Big Dog, 6'1", 250 pounds, and he hails from San Antonio, Texas. And his partner is the infamous fan who needs no introduction, the man, Chad McGee. Said earlier, he's got a little extra help this evening from Gunner Will Hit. Let's hear it for Gunner.
What's next? What's on the horizon? What door is God going to open now?
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. God opens doors no man can shut, but the man must choose to walk through that open door and trust that what is on the other side is greater than any man can imagine. Chad McGee has chosen to walk through that open door and not look back. From dreamer to achiever, and this is only the beginning, God knows the doors that will be open next for Chad. And that is now.
Stay tuned.
Here we are on top of the stars. Never thought we'd ever get this far. We live for moments like this. We come alive in moments like this. Here we are, this is a time, like a dream coming to life. We live for moments like this. We come alive in moments like this. Take a breath, thoughts racing through my head. I try to capture it, but a picture can't hold what a heart is feeling. I just wanna stop the world from